Hi guys. So today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for many years and it's been on my mind lately. And it is a common side effect of diabetes, at least for me, and that would be guilt and shame. Guilt and shame, your doctor probably doesn't talk to you about these things, but I think I've heard of a lot of type 1s, and myself included, have felt this strongly. And this is a result from being basically having many grades all day long. Each number that we see on our blood sugar meter is often to us a grade of how well we are doing. And especially when those numbers are off, if they're too high or too low even, and if you see yourself getting F's all day long, if you're failing all day long, that can be really hard. So I first want to talk about just how important it is not to beat yourself up over bad blood sugars or bad eating or not exercising, which can all contribute to poor blood sugars. So I used to run track in high school for a little bit, and that actually caused because of an injury that I had, then it would release stress hormones, which made my blood sugars absolutely horrible. And that affected many other parts of my life. I started even eating worse because oftentimes when I have high blood sugars, my appetite just gets off and it actually makes me crave junk food sometimes. So I started getting in some bad habits and a cycle of just very poor blood sugars, and I felt absolutely horrible. And I had the mistaken belief that if I let myself know that that wasn't okay, that I wouldn't do it. And so I ended up, you know, beating myself up over these bad blood sugars, telling myself, it's your fault, being harsh to myself about and the way that I was failing with my diabetes control. And I want to let you know, first and foremost, that is the worst idea. No one ever changes and becomes better by being beat up about it by themselves or by others. If you rail on yourself for the mistakes that you're making or um, for the results you're having, you will not see results and you'll actually just get worse because your relationship with yourself is horrible. And you just create a myriad of problems, and that is not the way to go. So I don't, shame and guilt should not go along with diabetes. First of all, the first reason for that is that diabetes is not our fault. We didn't cause this disease to happen ourselves, as far as we know. And even if we did, bad control isn't always our fault. Our pancreas isn't working, and it just isn't always your fault. Sometimes you can measure exactly right. You can measure your insulin, you can count your carbs, you can do all the right things sometimes and not have the right results. So that's the first step, is losing that perfectionistic view of thinking that it should be perfect, because it's not, and it's not always, and it's usually or not always your fault that it's not perfect. Second thing is, even when it is your fault, um, if you eat a cookie and your blood sugar goes high, just loving yourself no matter what. So, instead of putting diabetes as your enemy on the other, that you're fighting against diabetes each day, realizing you're on the same team, and it is okay. When you mess up, it's okay. And if your blood sugars are going high, if you're stressed out, if you're not eating perfectly, it's okay. And treating yourself as you would treat your best friend. What would you tell your best friend? Would you get after them and say, "Oh, you should be doing this and this and this"? Um, Maybe you should be doing something different, but loving yourself, knowing that you have worth regardless of your diabetes, and regardless of your control, you are still worth loving, and that your diabetes should not cause, even bad control should not cause you to shame yourself or to have guilt about it. Um, so the to me, loving yourself is the most important key to being able to grow and become better. Once I made that decision to start loving myself, regardless of my control, then I was actually able to honestly evaluate my situation without being scared of my own self critique. I was able to see, oh, I'm doing this and this, and I can improve. And with a loving, um, compassion towards yourself, I was able to make real progress. So I encourage you to choose to love yourself. If you have a thought of, railing yourself for something that you did, just put it aside. It will not help the situation at all. Instead, choose to have compassion upon yourself and upon your situation and forgive yourself. And once you do that, then you can honestly reflect on what's going on. And once you love yourself, you're going to start treating yourself better and making the necessary changes so that you'll feel better. So that's all I have for you today. I really encourage you to think about that and don't beat yourself up for your mistakes. That is not helping anyone. Love yourself and things get better. All right, have a good day. Bye.